It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
The Black Nerds have the box.
We're here to talk about Series 14, Episode 4, 73 Yards.
73 Yards was written by Russell T. Davies and directed by Dylan Holmes Williams. The official synopsis is: landing on the Welsh coast, the Doctor and Ruby embark on the strangest journey of their lives. In a rain-lashed pub, the locals sit in fear of ancient legends coming to life. Which is quite a synopsis. Forget the episodes that actually follow.
I'm going to go with a recap because they start off right off the bat lying. That's what they do it. The synopsis is a lot because the Doctor ain't got nothing to do with it, which is fine. But this synopsis, had I went in with the synopsis in mind, I would have been like, oh, so y'all just haven't had to go look up the synopsis for this reason. I said, oh, so they just said anything. Fine. All right, let's get into the recap, which I took pains to write because literally my notes was like, stuff happened, vibes, all vibes. But yeah, okay. Recap. The TARDIS lands on the cliffside of Wales. The Doctor talks about like the worst Welsh import, a future prime minister named Roger William. So that's important. We don't know that at the moment. He steps on a fairy circle, which I was like, is this a fairy circle? And then later on they say, it's a fairy circle. I was like, bet! I know it. And then like Ruby further anger the spirits by picking up stuff in the fairy circle and reading it. Among them, like a note that says like, oh, rest in peace, Mad Jack. I was like, everything they're doing in this moment feels so disrespectful to me. It's not just want to name that. I was like, wow. Like, even if you don't know what this is, it feels like something you shouldn't be tampering with. But whatever. I digress. So after they do those things, the TARDIS locked, the Doctor disappeared. Ruby can't get in the TARDIS. She's using her key. She's like, I can't get in. It's like from the inside, child. This thing is locked. You got the deadbolt on that bad boy. And so, yeah, when she realizes that the Doctor's not there and she's not getting back in that TARDIS, she's like, damn, it's been a good ride. Like, we had a long run, had a good run. Holla at you. And she leaves, which I like in terms of like just the quickness of moving on and getting to it. So she starts walking down because they was at the top of a cliff, which is a random cliff. She starts walking toward, I guess, a city, a little town or whatever. And like it was a lady, I don't know when the lady first appeared because now I have forgotten. But like the lady is following her, making like gestures like, you know, with her hands. That's like, it looked like if I was to be watching it, if I was Ruby, I'd be like, that feels warning like to me. That's how I read it. But
well, I was curious if it was like an actual sign. I was like, is this some sort of sign language, or is she just really like?
That's what I thought too. I was like, it either feels like sign language, but it felt to me like, bitch, like you in danger, girl. Like something to me, it felt like a warning. It definitely didn't feel like casual, right? Like it felt like I'm trying to like convey information to you. I need you to focus, pay attention, lock in. But anyway, so the lady's following her, and then while she's walking to town, and she sees a hiker on the road. Hiker is like, girl, what is you doing up here? She's like, girl, my car broke down up yonder. The hiker's like, bet.
At the top of the cliff.
Like, you ain't where for the car have broken down. Why is your car at the top of the cliff? They like be normal. So she's like, and this lady, you see her, right? She's like, yeah, I see her. She back there. She over there just doing her thing. She's like, yeah, she following me. She's like, oh, she following you. That's crazy. That's wild. She's like, can you just ask her what's good? Like, let her know I'm good. Like, I don't need her to follow me. Like, I'm safe. I'm fine. She's like, all right, bet. Hiker goes up to the lady, and then the lady say something, and then the hiker like freak out and just dip. He bolt. I was like, okay, well, got a blast. So that happened. Ruby finally gets to town. The lady still following her. She goes into this little pub, this little inn. Both and I'm not entirely sure, but they just as soon as she come in there, they just roasting her. I don't know. I can't think of a better. They roasting her.
Frankly,
Like
I'm
they
here
like
for it.
which I thought was funny, but I'm just like, damn, can she live? Like she out here, y'all see she freezing. Something happened. She So she like gets asked for a room. They give her a room. Then she's like, yeah, do y'all think this lady is following me? And something weird going on. She talked about like stepping on a circle made of like cotton or twine or whatever. They were like, you did what? You stepped on a fairy circle? Then she talked about reading a note about Mad Jack. So they did this whole stunt and show about like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you did that. Like you are woken him up. He's no longer resting. Like just playing into like the superstition and the like witchcraft and whatever, which apparently, and this is the thing I didn't know as an American, that like the Welsh countryside apparently is known for. It would be the same thing, I guess, of like somebody come to Louisiana and be like, oh, somebody did doo-doo. Like you would have that same kind of. So that's how I took it. They was just like, oh, it's another one of those. Like again, they just like roasting her for no reason. But yeah, so one of the people in the pub was like, all right, well, I'm about to head home anyway, so while I go out, I'll just see what the lady wants. Everybody's like, bet. He go talk to the lady yet again. He say something to the lady. She say whatever back. He dips. He like, got a blast.
It's the screaming too, like not just the running, like the screaming.
It's interesting, and it feels detached from whatever the person is saying. But it also has that like they also kind of always look at Ruby, like it's a suspicious look at Ruby when they run away. So it's like, oh, the devil,
like you put me
I'll
in
put the devil, whatever it is. So like in this version of the situation, Ruby is whatever. Like Ruby is the source of the issue. So they run away from Ruby. They don't run away from like the lady or whatever. But yeah, Ruby's like, all right, bet. Next morning, lady's still there, gesturing at her. The pub owner is like, you gotta go. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here. So she goes home. Ruby goes to her house.
Was that the next morning? Because I wasn't sure if like a couple.
You know what? It was unclear actually. So at first I thought it was the next morning, but then I was like, I'm not rewatching the episode, so then I was like, I'm gonna just hold on to that. But it was unclear to me. I was like, so either the next morning, but long enough that like either way, the lady still standing out there should have been weird to anybody. But we later realize or are told like, oh, there's like a perception filter around her. Like if people are not thinking about her, she's not visible to them in some way. It's not clear because everybody is also very aware of her every time we need them to be. So fine. Yeah, so Ruby goes home. The lady followed her the whole way home. You see her like at different points, like on the train ride from like Wales to London. The lady just doing her little gestures the whole way. Ruby gets home. Tells her family what's going on. Because what I love, and one thing I love, like her family is aware of the TARDIS, the doctor, the whole shebang. So when she gets home and tells them what happened, they're like, I knew his raggedy ass was going to be a little space criminal. Whatever. It was like a whole
the best moment of the episode for me. And then, of course, they had to ruin it right after, which you will get to. But it was hilarious.
Yeah. So it was like a whole thing where they was like, see, when you out here doing space clownery, okay. The crown comes back to bite. So
said, you're intergalactic spaceman.
Right. She said, nah, I don't play with that. Like man bad enough when they stay in one place. I can't deal with one that's traveling all over the universe. That's too much. But so like what she tells her mom was like, all right, I'll talk to Leia. I'm gonna see what's good. And she was like, no, because everybody talked to, her, it's like freaks out. She's like, I'm gonna be on the phone with you. Which in my head, I said, okay, we locked in. This is a great idea. She's like, I'm gonna be on the phone with you, so whatever she says to me, you can hear. But when Carla go talk to the lady, we don't hear the lady at all. We just hear Carla. And Ruby's like, wait, like what's going on? Like, what did she say? What is she? And like, it's a whole thing. But Carla just said, hey, they have to be this way. Got a blast. Dip. And not only does she dip, she run away. She finds the cab immediately. Gets in the cab. Logistically, I'm like, that's luck. Gets in the cab and as she's driving away, mean mugging. Like it's already bad when it was the random people, but it's like they aren't strangers. Like you just like they suspicious. But Carla was just kikiing with her not 30 seconds ago. So it's very jarring and it's very like, ooh, okay, something definitely happened. And so like for a minute, like Ruby's like, Mom, like calling her mama, like, hey, like, Mom, what's good? I need you to come home. Apparently, at some point, Carla and Cherry plot, okay, with Ruby's out. And they called a locksmith and locked her ass out the house. So she come back, house locked. House is locked. They said, no, you can't come up in here, no ma'am. And then it starts to go real soft at this particular point.
Yeah.
And so like when Ruby is like, I'm your daughter, she was like, no, you're not. Even your real mother didn't want you. And I was like, that's crazy. That's a crazy ass thing to say. And I understand functionally that they were probably trying to show like whatever happened completely changed people's relationship to Ruby, but like that was like low ass hanging fruit. Russell, we will meet in the streets. I don't know where the British Temecula is, but let's meet there.
Maybe it's Wales.
I'm tired of it. So at that point, time starts jumping. So like a year passes. Kate finds her. Kate from Munich, Kate Stewart, finds her and it's like shenanigans occurring. I don't know, because at that point I was kind of like, you know how you just lose, like it just lose you a little bit. I was like, okay, this is happening now. But like Kate finds her and it's like things are popping off. Glad we found you. And then she was like, yeah, there go the lady. She's 73 yards behind me all the time. She never closer, never further away, always 73 yards. They was like, yeah, we just did the math. That sounds right to us. We're about to get her. The whole unit, and I'm saying like the whole, they pull up like pow, pow, pow. Everybody surrounded. So whatever her power is, it clearly does not just affect the person nearest to her. It has like it works over the phone. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Again, I'm not even about to get into the logistics of a lot of these things. But like she said whatever she say, all the unit soldiers, mind you, they got their Glocks out, everybody ready. Kate is like, pull out. Don't engage. We over it. We out of here. Dips. Kate Stewart, mind you, the whole unit, all these like military people with their big old rifles. They said, nah, baby, time to go. All the while, like every time this happens, the people look at Ruby like they learned something very nasty about her specifically. Mm. So it's just extra weird in that context. Because Kate just like, oh yeah, we deal with extraterrestrial stuff. And I thought it was interesting that she said extraterrestrials and supernatural more commonly, or like more recently, like it's been like a bigger occurrence of it. I said, okay, Pete. Yeah, so then time jumps again. Ruby is in the like 20 years in the future. She don't need dates, apparently, like very distracted by the woman. I'm like, at this point, are you still distracted by the woman? Whatever. She is apparently. This shit has been stressing her out for 2 decades at this point. But anyway, at some point one of these days, they on the news and hearing about the person running for MP, Roger App Willem, and he want problems. So she's like, oh, he's the one that caused problems in the future. Maybe I'm here to like stop that from happening. All because of some weird, like he was like, yeah, I'm a jack of all trades. That's why they call me Mad Jack. And I was like, okay. Because again, at this point they lost me. I was like, fine. So she goes to join this campaign. She's like, I want to be a volunteer. I'll do whatever. They was like, bad. So she out here just doing grunt work, I guess. I don't know. Holding the jackets, as it were.
I was going to say, she is the coat holder.
The coat holder, which I don't know. Like, that just seems like a waste of labor. Like, you can just put that on a chair, like, have her canvas. I don't know. Whatever. It ain't my job. But yeah, so, like, he doing an interview. This man, this politician, and it's like, yeah, I think there's a whole thing, which again I don't know politics wise, but he just talking about like getting nuclear codes. He said NATO, they got nuclear codes, but they don't actually use nuclear weapons. He says this like it's a bad thing, and everybody's like, yeah, because they're fucking nuclear weapons, but it's fine. He had his whole interview, whatever. After the interview, he asked Ruby, he's like, who that girl over there? She's like, Marty. He says, like, oh, that's a guy's name. And then he goes talk to Marty. Next time we see Marty, this is important to me. Next time we see Marty, okay. She got a shiner. She got a black eye. She is very clearly distraught. It's not clear how much time has passed either. So I'm like, in this, whatever. It feels to me like they suggesting like this is becomes an ongoing thing, and that's
Right,
not even
yeah.
the next day or whatever. But whatever.
Yeah.
The timing is the way they move the time is very weird because it's like jumping decades, but also some stuff seems like it's either day to day or week to week or month to month.
Well, it's
It's
like
so
over the
unclear.
campaign period, right?
Right,
The
but it's like we don't
HBC.
know how late she joined that campaign. You know what I mean? Like if he was election in a month, was election in 6 months, it was like very unclear to me. Anyway, so we know, put 2 and 2 together that like chances are he's abusing this staff member, this woman. Okay, so then the man wins. He wins. He's like, all right, I'm about to do a big old speech. They own like, I don't know, a big soccer field, football. Wow. They on the field where the sports happens. Which I feel like this is one of those things too that might be above us, like over our heads for some reason. Culturally, they were just very, I feel like they were being so particular about this location in a way that I can't place. But like don't step on the grass, like a whole thing about it. Anyway, so she learned from one of the other people that work on the campaign. He was like, "Oh yeah, he gonna announce today." She's like, "Announce what?" He's like, "Oh, he gonna announce that we got them that we bought some nuclear weapons from Pakistan, and he got the code. He getting the codes today." First off, why do you random campaign man know this information? Let's talk about this. Let's ask this question. But secondly, that is not like a casual thing that is to be discussed. But yeah. So once she was like, all right, bet my time is up. It's my time to work. And then she said to the girl, she said to Marty, this is the part where I was like, okay, y'all really trying it today. She said to Marty, I'm sorry I couldn't help you. Or like, I'm sorry I couldn't do more for you or something like that. And gets up. Then she walked toward the MP. And then she gets to a certain distance and then starts backing up. Even though I'm like, girl, you could have just had it up. Whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so she gets exactly 73 yards away from the man. Then, the old lady, the following lady, just like do her little whisper. Everybody on the stage, like, God bless. Everybody run away. Then when the people like, what happened? He's like, I quit. I resigned. Ask the lady. Ask her what happened. Everybody like, what is you talking about? Ask her. It's the whole thing. So then he he resigns as MP before I guess he gets to call nuclear war. I don't really know. And then 40 more years pass because fuck it. She's old. Her care aide takes her, which is very above and beyond, I would say. That's good service. They take her to the cliff in Wales where the TARDIS is. TARDIS is there. It's given like, you know how Clara had the little like the flowers and stuff, but it was like painted. It was kind of giving a vibe of that. And she also looked like Clara this episode, so I don't know if it was something going on there. It was just a vibe. It was just a vibe. But like she was like, yeah. She talking like, you know, I guess like in her mind talking to the doctor, just like saying, yeah, this has been my life. Then she get back to, you know, I guess her house or maybe a facility. Again, unclear.
Seems like a nursing home or a facility.
Yeah. But because it's the future at this particular juncture, we don't know. Like that could just be her home aid. We don't know. Again, they are just like time is passing, things are occurring. Future. And they make a point of it. Because the lady's like, oh yeah, just say light when you want the light to come on. She's like, we had that when I was young. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I doubt they would stop using voice tech, but fine. Anyway, she says, I guess I'll die. And then she does. But then after that happens, she turns into or like becomes the woman who was following her the whole time, which I was like, oh no. What a surprise. That was me. I'm sorry. That might have been not everybody, but I was like, sure. And then when that happens, the old lady is like doing her gestures, but we can hear kind of, I guess, her thoughts. Or I don't know if that's she's vocalizing this, and she's just very light, but she's like, "Don't step on it, don't step on it." And Ruby somehow catches the vibe this time. This go round, she said, "The energy is very, very different today. Don't you step on that." They don't step on the fairy circle. And then the doctor's like, "Don't read the stuff either. Like, leave it be. This is a fairy circle." And then nothing happens because they didn't step on the thing. So it was a paradox. I don't know. That's what happened. That's the whole episode. Technically, none of that happens because she doesn't step on. They don't step on the fairy circle. But fine. We're fine with that, I guess. that's fine to everybody, I guess. This is one of one where I simply don't know what I was supposed to take from it. I don't know what it was supposed to do for me as a viewer. It was just very interesting. So I'm gonna let DJ kick off Cherry Child because it's on you. It's you.
Oh, child. Okay. Well, what I thought was strong, this like strong tea, I guess, is I really did like the kind of suspense and a little bit, it was kind of a horror vibe even in the beginning of the episode, like that time in Wales. I did think it was hilarious that they were sort of like roasting Ruby and like playing on that in the end. So it kind of like ends abruptly when they kind of are like laughing at the joke and like letting her know you came in here doing entirely too much. But I did appreciate just that setting and that the mystery around it, and even the doctor being absent, though I don't know, that got interesting as the episode went on.
I think that was one of those things that they did in universe because out in the real world they were just wrapping up, finishing.
I was like, okay, y'all needed an episode that was just her. There. That's fine.
But they don't really technically address it. They just be like, that happened. That's what the whole episode turns out to be.
That's fine. But yeah, so that was interesting. I thought that Millie did a good job, just like performance-wise, acting through it, and playing some of the different like emotions and responses. And I already mentioned the folks kind of making fun of her as a strong point, as a thing that I personally found entertaining. Yeah, Rebecca says here in the chat, I wish the whole episode was in the pub or with the pub crew in Wales, and I second that. That's what I expected when I saw the preview last week. I was like, ooh, like I thought we were gonna have.
It was on stage, even if it's not in that like pub, like in that area,
that
like
yeah,
right,
I was like we're gonna have like this location-based episode. It's gonna be like I was very excited for that, and then when we did a full shift to like, oh, now we're in some political story, and we're like, I was like, what is happening?
It was several things I didn't understand.
It's a completely different episode. I don't
like literally my strong is the same. I'm like pretty much everything until Ruby returns home is like I have under strong. So I thought it was like a really good. I was like, oh, this is a good suspense. It's like a mystery. It's like level to it because like people can see the lady, so it's not like something that Ruby's
exactly.
Up, but it's like right. So it's like a whole thing that I thought was within itself already entertaining and didn't you could have stayed in that place. Then it was like, okay, let's broaden the scope. Let's take this, let's make this a thing. Like, and I don't know why. So like my week is everything after she returns home. It's both the fact I mean, this is not maybe fair, but it's fair to me. Like, I don't know why Carla had to say all that. Right? Like that felt to me like a nasty thing that you included in the script for no reason. Because I feel like the way she behaved was enough. The way she behaved was enough. Like, she got in the cab. She said, oh, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't even run fast enough. I got to be in a vehicle.
Let her own
I have
mother,
to
mind
leave.
you.
That's
she ain't
what
run
I'm saying.
back to the house.
Left. Like, absolutely dipped out. I will send for my bags, okay? Like, so that was, to me, that already gave me enough of a, like, shock of, like, damn, whatever going on, like, her own mom. So then to have Ruby call and have her mom say that was just unnecessary to me. So at that point, you lost me. I was already over it. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. Because I was giving grace in the previous episode where I was like, I don't think they speaking to the family dynamic. But then in this episode, it's very much like, all right, y'all just assholes. Period.
I had that same thought. I was like,
no, Nick, I was like, I'll give grace, but I will absolutely revoke that shit as soon as you prove me wrong. I'm not gonna. You're not gonna play with me.
That same thought. I said, here.
No, so it was just very. That to me was nasty for no. It didn't add nothing because we already saw how her mom had just acted, and it was just like you just needed to get that hit in. It was very. It was just at that point, I was like sour taste in my mouth. But I also, again, didn't even like the shift of going back home. Like I kind of just loved it being a pocket episode over there, and the fact that they integrated it back into her life, and then we apparently see her whole life.
Well, before we get to the rest of the life, just this like moment with the family abandonment, and specifically what Carla said to her, I hated it in the context of the story and like for Ruby and just everything that we've been talking about. But it was also just really uncomfortable for me to watch, like, again, this thing where like y'all have made this a transracial adoptee family where the white person is the adoptee. And that's fine, but you also then need to keep in mind that like a lot of times it's a different dynamic, right? Where it's white parents adopting non-white children, and lots of those children face abuse like this all the time. So it was it was just weird to watch Ruby in that moment kind of be a face of like abuse that transracial adoptees will face as a white woman, which is not to say that it doesn't happen, but it's just like how we're telling these stories and who we're choosing to tell them through, and what, I don't know, it just as a throwaway line for your plot when it's like,
that's my thing.
That's big, you know, like it's
happening.
It just wasn't necessary, and it felt weird given the like family dynamic you chose to put in place.
That's my thing. Like you did it. Like I didn't do it. You could have not. They could have not got along from jump, right? Like you could have changed that.
And this is the second time that they have had Carla as a Black woman turn into this whole other mean, awful person off of some nonsense that then doesn't even like stick or end up. I'm just like, why are we doing this? Right? Like, why are we? I don't know. It's like insisting almost that there's always that side to people, which is not true. Like, why would that be a thing that we want?
And it's also like we're using the same person, so it's like you are really strongly making the connection that like Ruby makes her a good person in a way that I don't like. Like you don't adopt a kid, you don't keep fostering kids for like a very little amount of money. Like it's not a lot. People think like, oh, you make
them, right? The people that think like, oh, you have a kid, you birth a kid, and suddenly you're
right.
That's not how it works.
Like I don't know. It's just it's pissing me off. That's why I say at that point it lost me, just because at this point is now we set a pattern. Now we created a pattern. And so the things that are like, okay, we'll give it to you because maybe this is a one-off thing just to show this. No, now you've done this same exact thing to show this dynamic twice, and I don't like it. But it also literally does not functionally add anything to the story. Nope. It's just one of those things that like without it, nothing changes, because the way she left, that to me was more shocking and jarring. And then getting locked out, like that was clear to me. You didn't have to say shit. Like they didn't have to have none of that,
and they just kept adding.
Right. Like all those things could have happened without the words, and we already would have like, damn, like they so scared or they whatever. But at least we would have still had that level of like, not that. And then she's like, oh yeah, even your mother don't want you. That's crazy. Like that's crazy, because it also does that thing of like not validating the fact that that's her mom, right? Because like she's like, I'm your daughter. She's like, that's just, I don't know. That pissed me off to the point where I was just like, I know this is my bias, but at that point in the episode, I was like, I can't, like, I was already like, whatever level of, to say like the top half, like I was ramped up. So I genuinely was like, oh, this shit finna be lit. It was popping all the way to the pub. I said, whatever's happening is lit. So I was going up, and that was like I was like, oh, it was actually disappointing in a way it wouldn't have been if the front of the episode would have been what it was.
Well, because for a moment, it was like, oh, mom's about to become a part of this. Like, we about to have a like.
What I'm saying, like, it was so Carla, many things. Like it was so many things, and they just was like, no, we're just gonna have her abuse her and like run. And I'm like, and then of course, this is a quote for later, but it's important to say now. Like she says, like all my life, I've been abandoned by people, and it's just like unfair. It's unfair because there's no reason for that to be true, right? Like there's not, y'all are keep making that choice for this character, and it's like pissing me off. Like it's really because you're doing it. because like this ain't real life. You are writing this to happen, and there's no reason for it. You just want to make her suffer in this specific way. But you also are like, I don't know. It was like, it made me. Yeah, I was like, I literally wrote like, I'm so fucking bad. That's in my notes. Like, I'm so fucking bad. Like, y'all just pissed me off. Like, I don't think I was in our like Discord thread. I just popped in and said this episode is pissing me the fuck off. And that's all I said until I like came back later. It was weird. It was a weird thing.
Yeah.
And it also, importantly, did not serve the story. It was just like watching in the in Chibnall's era when the tech bro kills his mom. And it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, even if I was not sensitive to the fact that there was a black woman, it was also just horrible for the story because we see that whole thing happen. Then the crew finds the body and it's like, oh, he's so horrible. And to me, that would have been so much more effective if we discovered that she died the way they discovered that she died, as opposed to watching it. This is another one of those situations where you just doing it to fucking do it, to just be nasty, where like it's more effective in the story if we discover that she's abandoned. When she discovers she's abandoned, like when she go to unlock the door, it's like, oh, this shit locked. We would have been, that was crushing without her having to add on to it. So it's like you're not trusting the audience to understand what happened. When like, I mean, chains locks are very definitive. You really don't have to add on to that.
That's why it's hard not to see it as like a commentary on Carla for that exact reason.
That's what I'm saying. Like they keep doing it. Yeah. So Rebecca in our chat says the repetition of people really wanting to help and then doing a complete 180 to abandonment and disgust is really horrible to watch. It's so nasty. Like it's just nasty because it's like, again, with the strangers is one thing because it's like they don't know her. So it's like at the end of the day, they take, if the lady is saying like, oh, she a serial killer. And that's what they say. They don't know her. They got pick who they want to believe in that situation, right? We don't know what the lady is saying or what is happening when they talk to her, but fine. But when it's your own family that knows you, has been with you your whole life, and also knows about the circumstances of the fact that you travel through time and space, and so they have a different context for stuff, it's like double weird because like shenanigans are afoot. That like supernatural things, alien things can happen, and this is weird because like they clearly know are not like, that's not something they're like rejecting as a concept. They're like, oh, your little space homeboy out here, boop boop boop. So it's like you make them. It's kind of like Grace. I keep going back to other stuff. It's like Grace, like so like ready to be involved, and you take them off the playing field. In this situation, it's like we could have had this character be there with Ruby, so Ruby's not alone. Everything can still happen, but now you have this allegiance like us two against the whole wide world because we the only two that are not affected by this lady just scaring everybody away or whatever the situation is. It's a small change, and it's maybe the point. Maybe the point is that she got to be so alone, but that is something that doesn't. Yeah, right. You are forcing that dynamic for no reason because there is a lot of character. Because they still gonna feel alone if it's two people against three. That's still lonely.
And
but at
we
least
already have
each other in that.
In the Doctor, like, why do we need the companion to be that as well?
That's what I'm like.
We already have the lone survivor has companions, but they're not. We already have that.
It's just annoying because it's like now y'all are just doing stuff specifically to, I don't know, be weird and be nasty, but also. The big thing, so this is, I'm going to go with my week. Ruby. And this is, I think, there's levels to it. It's the fact that so much time is passing in this episode for her. Decades. It's like 20 years later, boo, 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 she's on dates, she's whatever. It does not show, she doesn't age in a way that, like, she doesn't feel like an older person. She doesn't feel like she's lived a life by the time she's 40 and decided, she put on her little spectacles and say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and join this campaign, which that feels like a very 20-year-old choice to me. That feels like a choice 20 years ago would have made sense for Ruby. But a person that's been living their life and is now 40 and been on these dates and is apparently like not whatever. That's another thing. And it's so many things that annoy me, but the dates were like, I'm like, why are we doing this? I don't know why this is happening. It just felt like a weird way to show her progression as a, or like to like, I feel like they could have shown her at a job being like weary, or like show her somewhere like at a, you know what I mean, like doing something else. Like I hated how like Amy, because I'm going back, we just going back to all the hits. Like when just every time we saw her, she had a different job, whole life had changed, and we like fine, she she a travel journalist now, fine. She a model now, fine. She's an author now, fine. Every time we saw her, but at least it showed that she was not that right. It showed that she was moving through life without the doctor around. But with this one, it was like she just cheers to the lady out the window. I guess every
keeping
Christmas,
her local wine business afloat.
Right. And then going on dates and being miserable. And then like, and I'm like, how does this show any kind of character progression? Like, I don't know what this is meant to do. And I'm like, again, this is why this episode feels to me like there's probably maybe something happening that I'm just completely, it's not for me. It's like so not for me that I can't even see that story happening. Like this is one of the things, like somebody's getting a whole different experience than I'm getting. But I was like, okay, fine. So they don't age her well. They don't, and by not age, they also don't physically age her well. It's like really bad makeup. Like give her some kind of aging, skin spot, something. She up on glasses and got like a feather hairstyle. We supposed to be like, oh yeah, that's a 40-year-old there. Are y'all so serious right now? But anyway, that aside, they don't like. She doesn't behave the way I expect a 40-year-old woman to behave when, oh, this man is, oh, I'm gonna join this campaign. That was not my thought at all. Like, oh, that's a choice. Fine, I'll rock with it. Let's see where that goes. Like, let's see where that goes. Then she's like, yeah, I'll do whatever. And that was already, I also found that weird. I'm like, why are we, I don't know. It was one of those things where I was like, it felt like a setup, and they still did it, but they didn't do it with Ruby. So it really kind of pissed me off because it was like, she made herself very like pliable and was like, oh yeah, I'm down to do whatever for the campaign. Like I'll do this, I'll do that. I'll like give up whatever. So she already made herself in the eyes of the people that's running that campaign, someone that can be used, if that makes sense. So I think they thought that by putting that onto another woman was somehow the better choice there. I mean, you know, we could just not do it at all. He already wanted to buy nuclear codes.
It literally felt like, oh, for our viewers that maybe would agree with his nuclear tendencies, like that aren't going to see the problem with the
we have to make him violent in a very specific way. Right.
We have to make it more relatable.
You have to trust your audience. I was already put off by the fact that she, again, like to me, they set her up, or like she set herself up to be looked at as a tool.
That space. Yeah.
Right. And then it's like all these, so it's already bad. Then they like, no, they're not gonna do that to Ruby. We're gonna do it to Marty. That's not better. Awful. I don't know Marty, but that's not better to me. Awful. And then like we brought up in the recap, like Ruby, it's clear Ruby knows stuff has happened, right? But Ruby doesn't do anything to help the girl because she needs a certain level of like, I don't know. It's not clear because I still feel like what she did, she could have did before he even won MP. Run his ass off the stage before we even do the vote. Like, I don't understand. That's another thing. Like, functionally, again, with the story, I don't understand that.
I didn't know if she didn't, like, if it didn't occur to her until that moment, or if she was trying to find the best logistics for it, because it is like she needed to be 73 yards away, but I suppose still in like sight of it's a weird and so with the,
but I feel like she would have had opportunities given that she's literally like, they make it seem like she's always there.
Oh, I think it would,
but it's like within a building, like if he's on, like when she's holding the coat, she could have stepped back a little bit. There was a lot of room behind her. They went in a small room.
73 yards.
I think it would have been fine. I would have tried it. And he would have been on TV. So, like, it would have been a dramatic fashion. He would have been running off that. They would have been like, why are you running off the stage? That's crazy. So, even if it didn't work in the way she expected, there would be no faith in him, right? Like, it would just be like, oh, that mug crazy. Like, whatever. I just feel like there had to be another time. Especially because you can set yourself up for the halftime. But I guess she was like, all right, we on the field. We know we got 73, boop, boop, boop. And maybe that's what I mean about something that maybe going over my head and that setting being important. Because maybe 73 yards might be a measurement in a sport. That might be a specific measurement, like half-yard line. And I don't know. You know, I don't know them sports. I don't know nothing about them sports. Okay, I'm willing to see that there are things that probably make more sense to people either in the UK or just like who knows sport, whatever. I don't know. But the point is, I shouldn't have to know it. It should just make sense. But I thought it was, to me, I will see that, okay, maybe that was the only time she could get exactly 73 yards away. Fine, whatever. She didn't have to say nothing to that lady. I feel like you could just let that shit alone. You ain't say nothing helpful to me by saying, oh, I wish I could have helped.
Yeah.
Bitch, what did you, what? To have Marty be like, she got me. Like, because now you just told me. And like, I think as women, we are aware and we know that we see each other. So it's very much like she knew that she knew. But it's the fact that you're going to acknowledge knowing and not doing shit. And it was like a greater good kind of vibe of like, I didn't do it because I had to do this. And then, nobody know what she did.
Except for a greater good can't even work because then at the end, it's all undone.
It doesn't, like, never happened.
When older Ruby stops
whole outfit change
them from stepping on the fairy circle,
they could have just,
dude still becomes prime minister, right?
Like
that part is like, so it's like literally that greater good that whole first timeline had been around is you know, taken away so that Ruby can travel with the doctor again and like so that her life can be put back on track. So like
but like if she doesn't even know it, that's the thing too. It's like it's not even something that she gets to take away and learn something from or have some kind of like she only had that vibe of like something happens if we step on this fairy circle, like Amani said earlier in the chat. Doc, you just stepped on a landmine. You just out here trampling. You not looking down. Like, are we not learning from our mistakes, our immediate mistakes? Like, it just happened. This ain't like 10 episodes ago. This is the last episode. Presumably the most recent thing y'all have done before y'all got here. You just gonna step off, just be trampling around. So at the end of the episode, when she becomes herself, and that also irritates me. It's like I think at a point she realized it was herself, so she wasn't scared of becoming it. But it also was like, I don't know why functionally they couldn't have had her put on the outfit so it could be more like she just like her last day when she go to see the TARDIS, she wearing that. The way they did it was weird. It was like, ooh, now she's this lady in a whole new outfit, chilling, doing her gestures. I didn't even like the way they did the reveal. I was like, this is how we gonna do this? Fine. Like by that point, I was so like annoyed. I was like, I don't care no more. It wasn't a reveal to me. I was like, even when they first saw her, I was like, it's by her old ass Ruby. But I didn't know the story yet, so I thought it was gonna be a cool thing. Like she was stuck in this town her whole life, and this is her older self. Like, bitch, this is us. You want to play around? So I'm like, no. So I didn't think that wasn't a reveal to me. But even the way they did it was like, to me, not even. It didn't feel like rewarding. Because usually I'm ahead of things, but I still enjoy when it's revealed. I'm like, oh, that's cute. I like how they did that. This one I was like, oh, cool. And then like they don't assign any kind of like lesson or meaning or any kind of, again, as I said earlier, I don't know what the takeaway is supposed to be for this episode. I don't know what I'm supposed to have learned from this episode. Not even from like, oh, who Ruby is point of view, because I don't know that I like the version of Ruby that occurred in this particular narrative. I don't really care for that. We don't meet that version of Ruby ever again. I didn't like her. And I understand that part of that is like, she's alone. She's abandoned. But like, so she just not the same Ruby we know because she's had these constant heart, whatever. But like, they just, I genuinely, I don't know what I was supposed to take from it. Like, I didn't get nothing good from it after it stopped being fun. When first 10, 15 minutes, it just was not fun no more. Like, even up until like the unit part, I was like, okay, something's gonna happen. I figured it was not gonna work as they thought, but I thought it would change or shift something in a fun way. I'm like, oh, the whole of unit, maybe the whole of the country, something's gonna happen. They're gonna turn on Ruby in a way. And it just didn't. It didn't know at no point when it ramped up did it actually meet the like proceeding ramp up. Like, at no point did it actually satisfy the lead up. So
we never find out
it's like
what
a coaster that only goes up and then plateaus and never actually drops. Like, you just constantly on the same level. It was never like a point where I was like, after it got to like it was going up, it was like, oh yeah, you think it's about to be a big drop or a loop? No, it was just like, I mean, I guess it was a loop, but it was a horrible loop. I don't know what that was. It was like, okay, because again, everything they did in terms of like how Carla treated her was weird and unnecessary. It did not add to nothing. Because getting locked out the house was quite clear without you having to have her say those words. Then having like Unit there, which I thought again, for a moment I said, okay, maybe they're gonna salvage it. Maybe we gonna get some fun here because it's Unit. They do shenanigans all the time.
Well, and why a whole episode? Because the thing is, like, we don't have many episodes in this little season. Is there like 8? I don't know. I feel like we keep being like, oh, maybe these things will come together at the end. Like, maybe we're part of this journey. And I'm like, the journey about halfway over.
We at the halfway point. So now you just
too many side quests here. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it was just weird. And I understand functionally why the doctor can't be there, but I also don't love that the doctor is not aware of this occurrence necessarily. So it's like something that he would be like, "Oh, what's that? What happened there?" And this again might be a folklore thing that there might be context for how that world or how that timeline occurred. I'm aware of like fairy circles and the idea of like, you don't play up in there. You do not mess with them. They do tricks. They will get you back. But that does not really coincide with the variation of this story we got.
In the end, was the circle made by old Ruby? Or no? Like,
no, I think so. Like, I just took it as that was just fair, like of the fairy circle. I also took it to be like it's a literal fairy circle in a way that like it does. Whatever happened was you triggered it by stepping on it. But what I don't like is that they don't really speak to it at all if it's true, because they make fun of the superstition of it.
Mm-hmm.
They make fun of the superstition of it, while at the same time this episode is a consequence. So, like, are we saying that it's stupid to believe in fairy tales? Or are we saying that you should probably be like these things have real magic or there's a real something to it that you should be superstitious of? Like, there's a reason that superstition exists. Here's another thing, because Russell is not this is his second run in the Doctor Who universe, but he also did Torchwood, and Torchwood has a specific has fairies. They have stories like actual fairies in the story. So it's not even a thing where like he doesn't know how to play with the fairy tale, right? Like he doesn't know how to play with the folklore. So it makes it weirder because like I watched Torchwood, and to me, because it's a more adult, like mature show, they can play with like the dark side of these interpretations of things in a way that like I don't think they would have done, especially at that iteration of Who, like in the first 1 or 2 seasons. But like, so it's also having a comparison of like ways he's done this and other things, and I'm just like, I don't know what you were trying to accomplish here, because like, and granted they're not gonna do the same level as Torchwood, because Torchwood was like we would like to make you mentally unwell after you watch this, which is fine. You go in there, you know that that's what it is, and then you just live with that. But like on Doctor Who, you don't expect that level of like emotional devastation, at least in that way that they did it. But like this is weird because it's like I don't know that there was an emotion. Like I don't know what the emotion. Like, am I supposed to be sad? Am I supposed to be angry? Like, what am I supposed to feel? Like even when I don't feel things the way that I usually can tell what they want me to feel. I usually can tell what the vibe is of like, okay, this is supposed to make me sad. I'm not sad because XYZ. Like maybe I don't like this character, or maybe this to me is like worst things can happen. And kind of like at the end of here I go again, but like when Amy and Rory leave, and it's sad, technically, canonically, and Thoria is sad because the doctor can't go see them. I'm like, they get to live till they old as hell. They have a family. They're fine. So it's not sad, but I understand that it's supposed to be sad. this one I don't know what I'm supposed to take from it. I don't like this version of Ruby that we get. I think Millie, to be clear, I think Millie is actually doing a great job of like acting in it. Like I think she's carrying that episode. Like I don't necessarily miss the doctor in the sense that like he needs to be there to make me care, but that is separate from the point of the writing of like I don't know what this episode is doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from it. I don't know who it's for. I don't know what it's trying to tell us. This might be one of the ones in the last couple episodes where it makes sense, but I don't think so. I think this is a filler episode, but it's a filler episode that doesn't help. It's a filler episode to me that takes away from. Whereas a lot of times, especially talking in the anime context, filler episode gives you insight into characters or like lets you see how they are outside of trauma or outside of like, you don't even feel like we got to know Ruby more than we had gotten to know her through.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing we got to like see or learn about her is just like her instinct to like keep it moving, right? So like when the doctor didn't come back, like you said, she went into the town. Like after waiting a little bit in the town, she's like, "Fuck it, I'm going home," right? Like so, I think we got to see that when I was thinking about like which, you know, the different companions, like who would have waited how long, like who would have been like, "I can't leave this spot in case the doctor comes back," and like how long would they have been on that versus like whatever. So I did think that was sort of interesting that she was just like, well, guess that's my time. But I think, like you said, that goes back to this sort of like painting her as prep for abandonment type of thing.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that we got anything new from her that justifies this whole episode. And we obviously don't get nothing from the doctor because it doesn't focus on the doctor. And that's honestly fine. I would be okay with that. It's just that it doesn't move me in any way, not for the character, not for the world. It's nothing. I feel like it's a nothing episode in terms of like being meaningful to the story. And again, it could change, but the only change is that they somehow acknowledge that it happens. And if they acknowledge it happens, then there's the whole paradox of it all. And we've talked about paradoxes within this. I can see like if it was a thing that was like up until now we have not discussed the concept of paradoxes, but we have. Like, it was just so weird, and I think it's worse because it started off in such a way that I was like, "This is going to be a lit ass episode." So it was a letdown on top of the fact of everything. It was like started off as like one of the coolest episodes. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be lit. This is going to go hard. Like whatever they're going to do, they playing with superstition. They playing with like that being something that like it's something that is." If you take it too far, it's like you're doing a lot. But also, you should have a healthy amount of superstition because there are things that we don't understand in the world. I thought we were going there, but they was like, "Nah, we gonna go." Like it felt very Moffat to me in the like you think a bigger story is going to happen, and then it doesn't, and it's just like, and then it gets undone because Moffat loves to not keep the consequence. It was weird. That's all I can say. But yeah, we can move. I don't think I have any quotes, but I think DJ has some.
You put some in here.
Perhaps.
Yeah, 2 of these are you.
I think I already mentioned one of them, though.
Yes, you did. You mentioned that everyone has abandoned me my whole life. Do you want to share your other one?
I know. I just thought it was when Ruby's like, "Oh, like talk to Carla there on the phone," and Carla's approaching the following lady. She's just like, "What is it? Like, what's going on? Like, who is she?" And she was just like, "She looks like what she looks like. She looks like what she is." And I'm like, it's one of those things that like it could be profound, but at this point, I was still like willing to give them grace and like was still in the space of like this is gonna be a dope ass episode. So I thought that was gonna be like a bar when I wrote it down as a quote. Like, yes, she is what you think she is. I'm like, oh, she's the devil, right? Like she a harbinger, whatever. And then she is you.
Well, that's why it made me wonder. I was like, oh, when they go up, do they recognize Ruby? Like, do they know that that's an older version of?
But it's also like what is unclear. But then what part of that leads to the fear response, right? Like it's not enough information because it's not even fear, but just like it's fear, but it's also with Carla especially, it's like disgust. So I was like, oh, this goes hard, but it does not end up being hard because the episode does not support such a dope ass line. She is what you think she is. It's like, damn, word.
That's
She
hilarious.
is you. It's not. I guess could be scary if you think you're a horrible person. I don't know what it is.
I wrote down one from Kate when they were talking, who was just like, it's what we do, all of us. We see something inexplicable and invent rules to make it work, which I liked as a standalone quote. And then they had to keep talking and sort of add in this line about like humans inventing God, which I feel indifferent to as like a statement on its own. But I think it was just like, again, an interesting sort of throwaway line. Right. In this conversation.
Yeah, because right now it's also
given the last episode.
It's also a pattern.
Yeah. And
it's
so I'm
also
just like,
a pattern.
are we like, is there a religious point that y'all are trying to make here or not? And
try
if
and
not,
be in the
can we just
word?
I don't understand.
Yeah, it's like again, these quotes are like these moments are like these would be profound if you actually attempted to answer them or to like speak to them in any way, and you're not. And I'm getting irritated. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, our chat can't think of too many quotes. There were not many, and like again, a lot of them, like if it was a cool quote in that moment, it was like almost immediately not cool no more with further content. Like mine, I was like, oh, that's so, ooh, boy, she said something, and then it just went sour for that point. Or I do like your quote as a standalone quote, and I think it's fun as a just even when you think about Doctor Who and like the Doctor himself, who like knows a lot of things, but a lot of it is presumption until proven otherwise, right? Like it's very much how they function. So I love that. But yeah, then it's like, oh, they make up God. It's like, if you want to say something, can you just say it? Not that like, the case.
Literally,
like,
you know,
just say it because you saying it, but you ain't saying it. Like, say
and
it with
through
your
multiple
chest.
characters is
That's
the other
what I'm
thing,
saying.
right?
Put
because
some bass
last
in your
time
voice.
it was the Doctor, and this time it's Kate, and it's just like,
put some bass in your voice. If you gonna say it, say it. That's what I'm starting to get tired of. It's like y'all want to be overt about certain things. Y'all want to take these political things, which again, even in this episode, I guess it was trying to take a stance.
Firing the nuclear weapons is bad, maybe, but
like
also let it happen.
Nuclear weapons.
Ruby needs to be with the Doctor. Go ahead and undo that fix, so she can be happy.
I don't know what you want me to take from there. I also don't know because again, I think including the part or making him violent in that specific way felt like a thing about.
I literally think that they were like, oh, a bunch of people won't think that
nuclear weapons are that bad.
War
so
is bad enough.
But then I have to make the next follow up to that. If you don't think, do you think violence against women is bad? If you also don't like, I feel like the type of person who's like, oh, nuclear war is fine, is probably like, some women need to be put in their place. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's not the overlap is a circle kind of situation. So I still don't think you would have gotten to them that way if nuclear weapons was not enough. Are you being so serious right now? And then also again, that the people who knew that didn't need that. Like we didn't need that whole little scene and that whole like seeing her. But the people who wouldn't have known that are not gonna probably get that from all those illusions because you didn't still say it. So you either gonna say the shit or you're gonna leave it out. Cut it, okay? Cut it entirely or say it with your chest because this halfway shit is not gonna work. It's not gonna work for anything you're doing. It's not working with the religious point of view y'all trying to take, which is very unclear to me. Like, are we going up for religion? Are we? It's not like we anti-religion, but pro-faith, perhaps. Who can say? Because you don't really identify faith. You don't really put a definition to it. Are we? I mean, I guess we're very clearly, very strongly anti-nuclear weapons. So that's a good firm. That's a good firm point. We can all agree that we do not do nuclear weapons, even though I also thought it was particularly interesting that they named where the weapons were coming from. I'm like, didn't need to do that. It was given Wonder Woman 1984. Whatever. It's fine. Okay.
Well, that's a journey. Thank you for listening. You can find us at blacknerdscreate.com and come kick it with us in our Black Nerds Create Discord server. We're on the site formerly known as Twitter at BLK Nerds Create and everywhere else at Black Nerds Create. Talk to us on our socials using the hashtag Tarbis and tell us what you think about 73 yards.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.